Well, happy Mother's Day. Kid president, those are good. Those are good. Oh, man, this is good. I was thinking about last Mother's Day, and I happened to be in Haiti last Mother's Day, and I was speaking, and I was trying to explain that we do something in the United States called Mother's Day, and that was a hard thing to even through the interpreter. The first time I said, I just want to ask the moms here to stand, and he interpreted something. All the ladies stood, and I thought, no, I didn't quite get that right. And so we kind of worked through that. But it's an interesting thing that this is something, it's not only in the United States, but it's not in Haiti until last year. It just caught on last year, so that's a big deal. I know this is an exciting day. I'm a little nervous because we're going to do a mom's panel. I've always thought on Mother's Day, you know, we get a guy up to speak to moms, and I know it's scriptural and breaking forth the Word of God and this kind of stuff, but I always felt a little bit like moms are out there thinking, yeah, what does he really know? And you're exactly right. I have seen the job description. I don't even want it. And so, and to see what you moms go through. But today, I thought it would be good to have a panel of moms to come up and let Pam and I kind of do an interview here with these moms, just to be able to speak forth to you, give you some fond remembrances of your mom. That's one thing we all have in common in this room. We all have a mom. So maybe she's gone. Maybe you were even adopted and you didn't even know your real mom. And but that's okay. God used that lady to bring you into this world. And I love that, you know, even though the scriptures call God Father, but when you read all the way back to the beginning, he had the qualities, all the qualities of the female and the masculinity in him as God the Creator, and incredible as we look at these characteristics of the Father. And so I want to first of all introduce these ladies, and then they're going to be sharing with you just some questions we have. I did send them the questions ahead of time, but I have no clue what their answers are going to be. So that's always what makes it fun. You know, when I'm preaching, I can kind of control what happens, but not at this point. So this is good. But interesting thing about this panel, you'll find out pretty quick as I start introducing them. Okay. First of all, Pam Moorhead on the end, and I'll let you clap for all of them in just a second as they talk. Pam Moorhead, Pam Hester, Pam Lee. Now you're starting to get get what's going on. And then Rayanne Owen. So one of these things is not like the other, and you kind of figure it. And then Pam is joining me to do the interview. So this is our Pam panel with Rayanne and myself as a part of this. But hey, would y'all just welcome these ladies up here today? I hope you feel comfortable. We'll try to make it like a living room best we could. Bring your coffee. Yeah, feel comfortable. So you've got a mic for you two, and you've got a mic for you two. And we just want to keep this as laid back as we possibly can. And there's no editing, so we're just gonna go for it. And so, Rayanne, let's kind of do this. Let's kind of go through the panel first of all. Give us a little bit of your mom background, the number of kids, grandkids, that kind of thing. And one of the things about the ladies on this panel that I prayed through just about asking is that they would be moms whose kids are no longer in high school. We're going to be recognizing our high school seniors in the second service today. And a lot of times people think if I get them through high school, I've accomplished something. But you're always a mom, always a parent. So just kind of give us your mom background story a little bit.
I have two children of my own. I have Chris, who is turning 30 this summer and internationally teaches and gives me great street credibility as a teacher, because I can say my son was just like that. And then I have a daughter named Katie who has two of my grandchildren. And then I remarried recently, Roger Owen, and we have he has 2 sons, 2 daughters, and 5 more grandchildren. So our quivers are full of grandchildren right now.
Yeah. And Rayanne, real quick, you have played the role of single mom,
yes,
widowed mom, and now blended mom. So you've wore a lot of hats in that area. Okay, as people identify. All right.
Okay, we have 3 daughters, and our oldest daughter is 28, and her name is Emily, and she became a new mother, so that means I'm a new grandmother. So back in the back there is our less than 3-week-old granddaughter.
Yeah.
And then we also have twins, Hannah and Laura, and they are 23 years old.
Okay.
I think the mic isn't. Oh, there. Now the mic's working.
We going? We good, you think?
Okay. And I've been married to George for 31 plus years now, and so my role has just been as a mother in a sort of conventional family.
Yeah. Had twins, though.
Had twins. That
Parents
was
of
maybe
multiple.
a little
That's
unconventional.
That's a big deal. Okay. All right. And one lives in India.
Yes,
And
we
Mexico.
have one of the twins lives in India, and Emily actually lives in Mexico. So, and then we have
Yeah.
a daughter. One of the twins lives in
Okay.
the Phoenix area. So,
Okay. Very good. All right. Pam.
Okay. I'm married to Jeff, and we've been married for 38 years. And like Pam, we have 3 daughters. We have Tiffany, who is 36. She has 3 boys. And then we have Abby, who is 34. Thank you.
Hey, I didn't ask them to say your ages. I did not put that in the. Okay, go ahead.
And she also has 2 boys. And then we have Nikki, who is 31, and she has 2 girls and a boy. And so we have 8 grandchildren, and they keep us pretty busy. And
Okay.
we all live we're neighbors,
Yeah.
all of us.
They live in a compound. Hester
Yes,
compound.
that's
Okay.
what they call it. Yeah,
All right.
yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm married to Jim, and we have 3 kids also. Molly, our oldest, just got married this year, and she is about to move to India. So I'm getting lots of wisdom from that Pam over there on that. But and then Jake, our son, is 21, and he's not married. But yesterday he got in his first official relationship, like girlfriend status. So yeah, you can tell him I called him out. He's not here, but
Okay.
so that's why I can do that. And then Maddie is here. She's our 19-year-old and just finished her freshman year at Baylor.
Very good.
Yeah, it's really good.
And Pam, through your years as a mom, you've worked some and you've stayed at home some, and you've kind of done it all.
I have worked. Yes, I worked full time until I had kids, and then I transitioned into what many would do and tried to balance part-time work. And I have my degree and everything was in fitness, so I have a fitness business, and that's allowed me a lot of flexibility, which has been awesome. It's a huge blessing. But yes, I've different stages. This one is to pay for college, so yeah.
I'm gonna let you keep talking, and then we're gonna move back,
Okay.
of course, this way, because you bridged into these questions. I actually got some of these from moms, and so it's not from me. It's from young moms asking questions. Here's the deal. You just bridged it. How in the world have you balanced family, work, not just kids, but husband, church work, all those kind of things? How do you even balance it?
Well, you definitely don't try to be perfect at it.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that exists. So, and it definitely, I think every piece of it comes with a little bit of guilt, which, not that it should, just that we put on ourselves.
Yeah.
So it's hard not to want to be with your kids if you're not, or at least for me it was. But like I said, I was really thankful for the flexibility in what I was able to do. And I think the big thing is just that when you're with your kids, you want to be really with your kids, be present. Or even as they get older, I think one thing I noticed, they really don't want to be with you, but you still or maybe they do sometimes, but you still just want to be present.
Yeah.
So I think for me, any opportunity I had to be present in the home, I wanted to make the most of that opportunity.
Yeah. Pam, Hester, just go ahead. Balance. How did you work with balance with husband and his career and children and grandparenting, all that kind of stuff?
Oh, goodness. Not so great.
Well, and let me just say this. These ladies to be the first to say they're not perfect, and that's what I think is vital to know. Okay.
Oh, yeah. So we had our own business, and my husband worked long hours. And when we had the kids, I was working full-time for a couple of years. And, oh, boy, that was my job would demand a lot of hours, and so kids weren't getting attention. Husband definitely, we didn't spend a lot of time together either. So I became a stay-at-home mom and trusting God definitely to provide us with what we needed, and that was really wonderful. And for a period of time, I was with them. Of course, I think the one that suffered here was probably my husband, because it's hard, and not that he isn't a priority, but it's a tough job. Being mom is a tough job.
Yeah.
And then as years went on, when I needed a job, the girls were in school, I'd get a job at school.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that kind of helped. But definitely you have to, you sort of just have to have your priorities, and you stick to those. And there's other things that are just going to have to wait. And a lot of times that was in my house. And my
Did y'all
husband,
hear that?
unfortunately.
Sometimes it's how-
Yeah, and it still waits, believe me.
All right, Pam.
Well, we home. Okay.
Hand 'em yours,
Okay.
babe.
Now it's working, I think.
Okay.
We homeschooled our daughters, and so we didn't lack for not only quantity time, but hopefully we had some quality time. So I think our daughters always knew that they were one of our top priorities. So I think for me as a homeschool mom, and then for you guys that just have little ones at home still, I would encourage you guys to schedule time with your husband. So for us, it was such a blessing that my mom and dad actually lived in town, and they were always almost begging to keep our children. So we were more than happy to let the girls go over there often, and they spent the night over there with mom and dad. And so that gave George and I a lot of time, not a lot of time, but it gave us focused time together. And so if you don't have the blessing of parents in town, I would seek out maybe some people that want to be pseudo grandparents to your kids. There's lots of older couples in this church. And in fact, I'll even volunteer. If you and your husband need some time to go on a date, call me up. I'll come over and keep your kids for you. So
There you go.
But I think you just need to prioritize pockets of time for your husband too.
Put Pam's number on the screen. Okay.
George did not volunteer for that, but I did. So.
All right. Rayanne, how did you balance?
Well, I think I had the perfect profession as a mother. I was always a teacher, and so I had the holidays that my children had. I had summers off, and I usually taught where they were. I was here at the academy for years and years while they were growing up, and so I got to spend that time with them. But I think I'm like Pam's in that I really was very intentional about creating a village around me because I didn't have a lot of family in the area. I've been at church since, for about 20-something years, I guess now. And so I raised my kids here, and so we depend on the youth group in Allen, and thank you. And I just think it's amazing that we're in a place where it's the same youth director that's raised our kids and could end up raising our grandchildren, so stay in good health. And this church is also just a beautiful blend of every age, the older couples, and we have multiple generations. There are some families here that have 4 generations at the church who helped. I also kept up with my high school friends from all these years, and in a stroke of beautiful blessing, my best friend from high school's son is married to my daughter, so that was easy. But it's just keeping those people in your life and making sure, especially the little mommies, young mommies, that you take time for your friends so that you're renewed and you're refreshed as well.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay, this was a fun question. What is something that you endured when your children were smaller? I'm thinking smaller and at home, maybe in high school and at home, I don't know, but that you miss now?
Okay. Sure. Okay. When I was looking at that, I thought mine is going to be totally different from anybody else's up here. You want to trade? Okay. It's going to be totally different from anybody else's up here. My children and I, when they were early elementary, went through a period of time where life just kind of fell apart. And we ended up, my 2 children, young children, and I, at the Texas Baptist Children's Home. in the family cottage program. And what had happened was we just lost everything we had, or we put it in storage, or did what we could, but we lived there. And the surprise about that wonderful place is that was one of the happiest periods of our lives. That was a lesson that we still talk about all the time, and how grateful we are that there really is a time that you can lose everything you have in life, and God is enough. And I don't think I could ever trade for that lesson in my life or in my children's lives. There are a lot of fears that we never had to deal with because we knew the reality of when God sifts it down to nothing, He is still enough. And I'm just forever grateful for that.
Yeah.
Well, I was trying to think through this. I think probably the thing that I endured was cooking. I'm just not, that's just not something I enjoy to do. So, and there probably was a period of time when I said, it's time to eat dinner, and they'd all go run, jump in the minivan. So, but anyway, but I treasured the time around the table that we had when they were there, once I got the food on the table. And, I'd give anything in the world now to have every chair at the table full again.
Yeah.
And cook those meals.
Yeah.
You can come to our house. It's always full. I think when I was thinking of this question, what did I endure that I miss now? And I was thinking, well, we had the craziest schedule while the girls were growing up because they were always doing and going. I don't miss it, though.
Yeah.
And the other thing the only other thing I could really think of was when they were little. And again, I said my husband had a business of his own, so he's gone a lot. And we lived out in the country at that time. It was really out there, and it was just the girls and I. And sometimes those days would seem so long, and I would get lonely for an adult companionship sometime. But I would love to have those days back where I got to be there with my 3 girls. They were just so precious and so much fun, and that was a really wonderful time that God gave us to. We grew up together. I was such a young mom, so
That's a good way of looking at it.
Well, we moved to Houston when Molly was 1, and we lived there 13 years. So we had the other 2 were born there, so that was all the young stages of life. And our kids, they all went to private Christian school. And if you've ever lived in Houston, it takes about an hour to go 2 miles. So we were in the car a lot. And what I feel like I endured was carpool, going to and from school, going to and from swim lessons, all those things, that we were in the car so much. And I don't miss the way I did it because I did not make the most of that time, and I wish that I would have. Looking back, that's a time you have with your kids, if you have any young moms. It is a hard time because you are stressed going to all those activities, and I always was trying to find people to carpool with. I kind of wish I would have just taken my own kids. Sorry to get emotional. Taken my own kids, spent that time, invested in it, and, I missed it.
Yeah.
That's good. That's real good.
Let's just continue on. Go ahead.
I was going to start Pam Hester.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Pam Hester, I'm going to start with you. So, Pam, you can end
I can get
this
my
question.
emotions back.
Yeah.
Okay, I know it's kind of stressful. Okay, Pam Hester, what did you do to instill spiritual values in your kids' life?
Okay. So, while I was that young mom staying at home, I have to say I prayed for my children. I had the 10 Commandments in their rooms and tried to live the example. But I got to tell you, we didn't read the Bible. I took them to church, but not regularly. I eventually got them into a little Christian preschool, but again, I let those teachers kind of do the teaching. But as they got older and as I got older and we started to grow and God was just wooing us to Him, we started learning together. I would learn something and I would implement it, and we would get together and we would talk, and we would discuss God's truth and learn to implement quiet time. We didn't do it together, not far from perfect. But despite my shortcomings, God is so good. All three of the girls just love the Lord, and they've given me these sweet little. This is for God knows the desires of your heart, because what I really wish is that I could go back and do it again, and I could do what I do with my 8 grandkids. I could tell them about God's truth and how wonderful He is, and sing Bible verses to them, and pray Bible verses over them, and share stories from the Bible with them. And not only do I get to do that with them, but God has allowed me to do that with some of your children. And I'm just so very thankful that we get a second chance to try to do it right and help others do it. And
thank you, Pam, for what you do in our preschool area. I appreciate that very
well,
much.
I'm grateful. It is my privilege to be able to.
Yeah.
Well, I think in addition to the obvious things about praying with your children and reading the Bible with them and those kinds of things, I think one thing George and I tried to instill in our girls was the sort of just a pillar, a foundational pillar that they didn't belong to us, they were God's. And so, yes, we held them tightly in our hearts, but I would encourage you to also hold your children loosely in your hands because they are God's. And I think if they learn that from an early age, too, it just opens up their whole way of thinking. And that sort of leads into my second point. Another thing that really I think was foundational for our girls was that we took them on a lot of mission trips starting when they were very young. Well, not very young, but like middle school on up. And they went with Alan on trips, the twins did. And I think that opened up their whole perspective on life and on God, and on it just helped them form their own idea about the importance of the Great Commission and the Great Commandment. And so I think those were foundational things that we did with our girls that helped develop them spiritually. And I will say, too, though, if you sort of teach them to live that way, then they might end up in Mexico and India. But that's okay. They're not mine. They're God's.
Yeah.
And they're where He wants them, serving Him and carrying out the Great Commission in other parts of the world. So,
Thanks, Pam.
I think I have to echo that about you tell them you can grow up and you can be anything, and they do. They go away. So you might say, Round Rock, it is a good mission field, and you need to stay here. Maybe they'll stick around. I always found, just like the car, like Pam was saying, where we spent a lot of time when my kids were little, it seemed like we were always in the bathroom together. You know, you're taking baths, you're brushing teeth, you're doing whatever. But I had a verse in there from Deuteronomy 6:7 that was up there the whole time they were growing up. And it's the verse that talks about, that you talk about God while you're sitting down and standing up and walking along the road, and write it on the doorpost of your hearts and put it on your foreheads. And so that's what we always try to do, was just include God in everything that we did, and just a lesson. I know, if we'd pass an ambulance and it would have its lights going, we'd pray for those people that they would make it in time. And one of the things that really blessed me recently is when the kids were little, and when you're young and your family just doesn't have very much money, is we would hold up the money when we were going to go buy something with the little guys, and we'd say, God, we just need a miracle of the fish and the loaves with this money, that it will cover everything that we need. And my daughter told me recently that she does that with her children. That those things that we pass along, that'll be generational. And so that's the importance of what we say, is how long it goes on.
That's good.
Okay. So Jim and I both grew up, both have fathers who are pastors. So we had both grown up with some family devotions that we found to be rather stale, actually, in our home. So we both just decided kind of to just do what some of the other ladies had said, and just be really intentional in little ways. And not that we didn't ever do family devotions, but we just didn't do them regularly. We did regular nighttime before bed with each child. We were intentional about that time. And then we just tried to have conversations through the day. We did what Rianne said also, like if you pass someone while you're driving, to pray for them, if whatever, just different things where we could let them know that God was a part of our whole life. Was pretty much the way and then of course they had plenty of opportunities to be in church, and so but lots of spiritual conversations.
Yeah. And Pam, taking it to the next level, we kind of communicated this week, and all of you ladies know this. We know this. Just because you instill it doesn't mean it's all going to turn out that way.
Yeah. So sometimes this is probably the sweetest season right now in our lives of all of our children really following Jesus, and we are so incredibly thankful. But that hasn't always been the case. And our son that we just talked about, he took about 4 or 5 years of really chasing after other things, and difficult season for us at home. It was hard. Lots of disagreements. When he left to go to college, Maddie asked us one time, she was like, do y'all miss him? And I was like, yeah, we miss him. And, and she said, our house is a lot more calm right now. I feel like y'all are a lot more peaceful. Everything's happier. And, it was totally true, So we missed him because he was our son and we loved him. But, but anyway, so, through that time, we relied a lot on prayer in our home group from friends, and just going to God and what can you do? And there's seasons to endure. And we're thankful that, like a few months ago, actually, probably 2, he's taken a break from college. He's moved back into our home, and God just really got a hold of him. And it's been a super sweet time of redemption and grace, and he's been out of town for 3 weeks, and we actually really miss him.
Yeah.
So it's good, but it's just when you're going through those times, really rely on your community here at church to help.
And I think what Pam hit was a good thing is that they are God's.
Yes,
as hard as that is, and our culture worships our children, and what happens is that child does something that's out of kilter with the family, your family falls apart. Instead of thinking, God, you can even use this in a redemptive way in my kid's life.
Yeah, we do have to remember it's their story, not our story, because what we want for them is God's going to use all those hard times in their lives.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right. You want me to go on? Okay. So I'm mic'd. A quick one, and we'll answer this as quick as we can, even though this is a pretty deep question. In the day of social media, that most of us did not grow up in that, now it's in our face. One of the big things that moms deal with is mom guilt. It didn't start with social media. It's gone on forever. How did you deal with mom guilt? And I look at Facebook, everybody does the perfect vacations. Their kids are perfect. They never do anything wrong. That's the facade. Behind it, it's falling apart, but you never know it. How did you deal with mom guilt, Rayanne?
Well, I just wanted to talk real quickly about what our social media was. Is we had telephones that were bolted to the wall that had a long cord, and your child knew exactly how far they could go when you were on that phone.
Yeah.
And you were standing there giving them the waving finger to stop. I think, it's just that you have to turn it around and stop looking at yourself and start looking to how you can help other people. I will have to say I love social media today because it gives me a look into people's lives. Like Elaine Ponder, your kids are darling. And it just gives, a chance to just love and pray for them. And the same with Mandy Keeter. I've known her since second grade. She was in second grade. And so, just a time for encouraging. I always had encouraging people around me that pointed out that's not what it is. We are all in the same boat here, and so let's try to get together. And it's just seeking out those people and surrounding yourself with people who have that same view, of how we should be as moms, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say something very similar to what Rayanne said. I looked back at when I was a young mom, and I was just surrounded by people that shared the same values that I did. And it wasn't a keeping up with the Jones crowd. It was more surviving with the Smiths crowd, you know?
Yeah.
And so I would encourage you all to just surround yourselves with people that are like-minded, that you would be just as happy for them to say something to your kid as you yourself would say to them. And that just helps a lot. And certainly you can unfriend people that are not good influences in that area for you. You can choose not to go on play dates with those people or that sort of thing. So you have control here. You know, you don't have to fall into that rut of feeling like you have to keep up with the Joneses. Surround yourself with people that don't live life that way.
Yeah. Good.
I don't know much more that I could add to that. I agree totally with that, to surround yourself with people that encourage you and love on you. And also to remember, so if you do, you know, you see somebody and you're thinking, oh, boy, I just really, you know, God has a will, a plan for your family, for your kids, and, you know, it's not the same as everybody else's. So just focusing on that and what is best for you and best for them, and which, again, is be around people that encourage you and build you up and love on you, and you can do the same for them.
Yeah.
Well, my favorite non-biblical quote is, comparison is the thief of joy. So I just try to remember, I tell that to my kids a lot and tell it to myself a lot. I struggled a lot with comparison issues. So I think there's so much in the Bible about where our mind should go. And so, you know, just keeping those things of what we want to think on, I think helps us.
Yeah.
Helps me.
Yeah, comparison is a killer, and I think that many fall into that trap. It didn't start with social media. Social media just enhances it a little bit more, and you start comparing, and man, it's just not reality. It's not reality. I know our time's going up. Rayanne, I want you to address one issue, if you don't mind, and I'm sorry to put you on the spot like this. You've lived through a marriage that failed, and you're left as a single mom. What could you say to somebody here, maybe who either has a husband that's not walking with the Lord, or finds themselves in that situation as a mom all of a sudden?
Well, I think what you've got to do is you have got to lock eyes with Jesus, and you really do have to come to a point of realizing that you've confessed everything you could confess, you've done everything that you can do, and that God's going to have to be the one that carries you through. And there is such freedom. I always remember thinking it was like breaking through a sliding glass door. When you get to the other side of that, and the destruction is behind you, the freedom of knowing that God is totally in charge of that is like nothing you'll ever experience.
Yeah.
And it's worth pressing through. I think that there are times on earth that God wants to say to us, well done, good and faithful servant, you know, for what we stand in and what we walk through. And that's not just going to be in heaven, it's on this earth, that God wants to be saying that to us.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that. I know, and the other thing that was said earlier by all of you is that I hope and pray that the church body has to surround you. There has to be more than just you doing what you're doing. You need other people to encourage you and walk with you through those moments. Hey, would y'all just bless these moms? Thank them for...
It's your breath in our lives, so we